If you're struggling with mole activity, this video is going to be beneficial for you to watch. So a lot of homeowners will ask the question, how in the world can moles do so much damage when I saw them in my neighbor's property, but now they're over here across the road? Well, this is a good example. So we actually service 7 of these big grass medians in the middle of this kind of community area in Hendersonville, Nashville area. And one of the things that we see quite often, because we actually service, good example, this house and this house on both corners, and they have mole activity pretty consistently. In fact, we actually service the house catty corner to this one behind this house as well. So we've got 3 houses here, and then all of these grass medians that we do as well. The moles are constantly traveling underneath the roadway. And a lot of people don't realize that moles can actually travel 6 feet deep. It's something that a lot of people think, well, I'm seeing their activity with the surface tunnels. Now this is what I'm talking about. Surface tunnels right here, right? All this dirt right here. All this right here. This is all one mole. And the trap that we've had set here for about a week, this is set off. So let's pull this guy out. Well, did we catch him? Or is there an under tunnel? Huh. So it looks like he actually dug around the trap a little bit. So we just got done talking about this trap, but we have this trap here, and look at this trap. This is not supposed to be like that. This looks like it was run over by a tire of some kind. In fact, if you look at this second grass median there, you'll actually see the lines that were cut with a lawnmower. So my idea, and what we see quite often actually, especially this time of year, is they'll just run over these things. So let's actually make sure that it's not damaged at all. So I know we've switched topics once or twice here in the video, but still, all this information is super, super helpful and beneficial to anybody who's dealing with mole activity. Moles can dig very deep, and the only tunnels that we see are a result of them digging their feeding tunnels or their travel tunnels. But most of the time, when they're not coming up and looking for food, which they could find deeper, but most of the times it's towards the surface, which is why they're up there, they're down deep, either getting things ready to store, those big mounds you see everywhere. Sometimes they sleep in those. They're carving out those big cavernous holes under the ground so that they can put their food away, store their food. There's a lot of stuff that they're doing every single day. So another good example, stuff to watch out for. Obviously this has been mowed as of the last week, but it's grown because it's rained a little bit. But then you come and you see very, very small, tiny little thing of dirt. This is bigger, or rather smaller, than my hand. But if I'm to push down, I don't feel a breakthrough, which tells me it's a tunnel coming up kind of at an angle this way. But in this particular case, I'd look around this whole area just to make sure there's no tunnels. And if there's not, I'll move on. But if so, I'll set. Water is a key essential ingredient to the life of a mole, simply because it draws up the insects and causes a lot of pockets of insects deeper underground. Because if you get a lot of flooding, then you'll actually have those pockets of earthworms and different kinds of insects kind of gathered in a kind of central area. So it's essentially like a buffet for the mole. Okay, so in addition to that one trap, we've got 2 more traps. So 3 in total right now. Okay, just a few more medians to walk. Let's actually look at this mulch bed just because it's kind of lumpy. I'm not feeling anything, seeing any cracking, anything like that. You'll get a lot of different types of divots and rivets from all the rain and whatnot, but I'm not seeing any indication of moles, at least not from what I normally see. So because there's no tunnels that are kind of leading up to it, which we see quite often, because there are no hills anywhere, nothing like that, shows me that at least in this area we appear to be good. Now, fun little fact, when we actually started this particular property, these 7 different medians, we actually had quite a lot of activity per median, and we caught quite a few moles the first time around. And so when we're doing that, because of how territorial they are and with how many we caught, we drastically thinned out the population. Not to mention there are 3 other properties just off these medians that we also service. So we're actually bringing down the actual population as a whole quite a bit. So the fact that we can come to this property again some months later and only have the need in the entire 7 medians for 3 traps is great. That shows us we're doing our job. We're catching what we need to catch. Okay, so I finished kind of walking all these medians and I'm just walking back to the truck. But each one of these medians is the same size, if not bigger than some, if not most of the properties that we actually service. So when it comes to this particular job of doing these 7 medians, which counts as one job, you're essentially doing 7 different properties, kind of bigger properties. But luckily it's not too hot out today and I got an early start today and all of that, so that's good. So what we'll do on our way back is actually count how many traps we have out so that the office is aware of how many traps are what we call deployed, meaning out in the field. Now, if you're out in the field and something is deployed, that means it's been set off. So we've got 1 trap there. Now, it doesn't hurt at all to simply do a slight second look on your way back. These medians are actually small enough to where you can walk once and pretty much see whether or not there's a lot of activity or not. Some of it you'll have to kind of walk over just to be sure. Like I've talked about before, you got to feel with your feet as much as you're seeing with your eyes. So making sure you're kind of looking in the areas you probably didn't get an opportunity to look at before. That's also important. All these areas that might cultivate a lot of water, so drainage ditches, stuff like that. So I finished walking these 7 different medians, which each one is about the size of a property that we would normally service. So this is essentially 7 properties on top of the list I've already got today, which today is actually more of a light day, which is a huge blessing. All right, so we've got 1 sign out there and then 1 sign out way over there.